Welcome to Conspiracy Q, the show where we investigate some of the wildest conspiracies out there.
That's right. Each week, we bring you a new top secret investigation. And we don't just, scratch the surface. We dive deep.
Exactly. And we don't shy away from the really out there stuff.
Absolutely not. The more shocking, the better.
Right.
Yeah.
And this week, well, we've got a really juicy one for you.
Oh, yeah. This one's a doozy.
This week, we're looking into the death, or should I say, the alleged death of Tupac Shakur.
One of the biggest mysteries in music history, for sure.
For sure. I mean, think about it. 25 years later, and people are still debating what really happened.
Still so many unanswered questions.
So many. And we've got some recently uncovered or classified sources here that suggest, well, that Tupac might not be dead after all.
Yeah, the dossier you've compiled here, it's pretty fascinating. It's called the Tupac Deception, and it lays out a pretty compelling case.
Right. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go through this dossier piece by piece and see if we can't make some sense of it all.
We're going to see if this narrative, the one we've all been told, if it actually holds up under scrutiny.
Exactly. So buckle up, listeners. This is going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, you're definitely in for some major aha moments.
Okay, so let's start with the first part of the dossier. It's called Immediate Red Flags, and right off the bat, we've got the autopsy photo.
Yeah, this photo has been, it's been heavily questioned over the years.
For good reason, right?
Right. For starters, there's the issue of Tupac's hair. Photos taken just days before his supposed death show him with a full head of hair. But in the autopsy photo, his head is shaved.
That's a pretty big discrepancy, right? I mean, you don't just shave your head overnight.
No, you don't. And then there are the tattoos. Some of Tupac's most recognizable tattoos are either missing or they look different in the autopsy photo.
Look like someone tried to alter them or something.
Yeah, it's definitely suspicious. And then there's the weight discrepancy in the coroner's report.
The dossier says he weighed 215 pounds.
Right. But people who knew him well, they've said he was closer to 165, 170 pounds.
So a 50-pound difference.
Yeah, that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
And for such a basic piece of information to be wrong, it's just weird.
It's why would that be wrong?
Exactly. And then there's the whole cremation thing.
Okay, yeah. So Tupac didn't have a public funeral, which is, that's kind of strange in itself for someone of his stature.
Right. And he was cremated.
Yeah.
The day after he died.
Which is incredibly fast, right? Doesn't that usually take longer?
It does.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another red flag. And then the guy who performed the cremation, he just disappeared.
Poof, gone.
Gone. No trace of him.
That's crazy.
Right. It's like something out of a movie.
Okay, so we've got a questionable autopsy photo, a weight discrepancy, a super fast cremation, and a disappearing cremator.
All within 48 hours?
Right. It's a lot to swallow.
Yeah, and that's just the beginning. This top secret investigation goes much deeper than that.
Okay, well, let's dive deeper then. What's next in this dossier?
So the next section is called Strange Behavior, Bizarre Coincidences. And this is where things get really interesting. We're going to talk about Tupac's alias, Makaveli.
Makaveli. Okay, yeah, I've heard of that.
So in 1996, shortly before his death, Tupac released an album under this name. It was called the Don Illuminati. The 7-Day Theory.
Okay.
And the name Machiavelli, it's a clear reference to Niccolo Machiavelli.
The Italian philosopher.
Exactly. And Machiavelli, he was famous for his writings on deception, on strategy.
Yeah.
He even talked about faking your own death as a way to outsmart your enemies.
So it's like Tupac was signaling us or something.
It's possible. It's a pretty blatant reference. And then there's the album title itself, The 7-Day Theory. That album was reportedly recorded in just 7 days.
Wow, 7 days. That's fast.
Yeah, and there are these lyrics in one of the songs, Blasphemy. He says, "I've been shot and murdered. Can't tell you how it happened, word for word, but best believe that niggas gonna get what they deserve."
It's like he's talking about his own death, but in the past tense.
Right, and then he's talking about revenge in the future.
It's almost like he's foreshadowing something.
It's definitely cryptic. And then there's the whole thing with the number 7. It pops up everywhere in this story. He was shot on September 7th. He survived for 7 days. He supposedly died at 4:03 p.m., which, if you add those numbers up, it equals 7. He was 25 years old. 2 plus 5 equals 7.
Wow. That's a lot of 7s.
And then, of course, there's the 7-Day Theory album. Some people think it's just a coincidence.
But it's a pretty big coincidence, right?
It is. And a lot of people believe that Tupac was was intentionally embedding these symbols, these clues, into his work.
Like a hidden code or something.
Exactly. Okay, so moving on to Section 3 of the dossier, the unexplainable sightings.
Sightings of Tupac after 1996.
Yes, there have been numerous reported sightings of Tupac all over the world in the years since he supposedly died.
Wow. So, like, where? Who has seen him?
Well, there have been a lot of reports from Cuba. Even TMZ, they reported on a possible sighting of Tupac in Havana.
TMZ. They're not exactly known for conspiracy theories.
No, they're not. So that kind of lends some credibility to the sighting. And then there's this video from 2003, a backstage video at a rap concert. The guy in the video, he looks a lot like Tupac.
And this video was never debunked.
Nope. And then, of course, there's the Coachella hologram from 2012.
Right, but that was just a hologram.
It was, but a lot of people who knew Tupac, they said it was incredibly realistic. Like, they felt like he was really there.
That's kind of spooky.
It is. And then there's this YouTube clip from 2014. It's a video of a guy who looks like Tupac getting gas in New Mexico.
What?
Really? Yeah. And when the person filming asked him if he's Tupac, he just smirks and says, I get that a lot.
He just says that.
Yeah. Like, it's no big deal.
So are all of these sightings real? Like, is Tupac actually out there somewhere?
We don't know for sure, but the fact that there are so many of them, it's definitely food for thought.
It definitely is. Okay, so what's next?
Well, the next section is a bit darker. It's called Key Witnesses in Strange Deaths.
Okay, this is where things get a little creepy, right?
Yeah, a little bit. So we're going to talk about Yaki Gaddafi. He was a member of Tupac's group, Outlaws, and he was in the car with Tupac when he was shot.
Right, so he was a key witness.
Exactly. And just 2 months after Tupac's death, Gaddafi was murdered.
Murdered.
Yeah, and his murder is still unsolved.
So was he killed to keep him quiet, like to prevent him from telling the truth about what really happened to Tupac?
It's possible. I mean, he was one of the few people who knew what really went down that night.
That's scary.
And then there's the silence from the hospital staff. None of the doctors or nurses who treated Tupac have ever spoken publicly about his death.
That's weird, right? You'd think someone would have come forward by now.
You would, but there's been absolute silence. It's like they're all under some kind of gag order.
Or maybe they're afraid of something.
Maybe. And then there's this quote from Suge Knight. He did an interview in 2017, and he was asked about Tupac. And he said, with Pac, you never know. Maybe he's somewhere smoking a Cuban cigar.
That's a pretty cryptic statement.
It is, but it definitely keeps the conspiracy alive, right?
Right. Okay, so we've talked about the red flags, the strange coincidences, the sightings, and the suspicious deaths. But why? Like, why would Tupac fake his own death?
Well, that's what we're going to talk about next. Section V of the dossier is called Motives and Masterminds.
Okay, so what are some of the possible motives here?
Well, there are a few. First of all, there was a whole East Coast-West Coast rivalry going on in the rap world at the time.
Right. That was a pretty violent time.
It was, and Tupac was right in the middle of it. So maybe he faked his death to escape that whole scene.
To get out of the crossfire, baby.
Exactly. And then there was his relationship with Death Row Records and Suge Knight.
I've heard that wasn't exactly a happy relationship.
No, it wasn't. Tupac was reportedly unhappy with his contract, and he wanted out. So maybe he saw faking his death as a way to break free from death row.
To start fresh, with a clean slate.
Right. And then there were his legal troubles. Tupac owed the IRS a lot of money.
Millions, right?
Millions. And he was under constant surveillance. So maybe he just wanted to disappear to escape all of that pressure.
So like a combination of things.
Yeah, a perfect storm of reasons to want to disappear.
And then there's this theory, the Machiavelli's master plan theory.
Right. This theory basically says that Tupac was a student of Machiavelli. He had read his books, he understood his philosophy, and he decided to use Machiavelli's tactics to his own advantage.
So, like, he planned the whole thing out.
Exactly. He planted clues, he dropped hints. He even said in an interview once, I'm not saying I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will.
That's pretty interesting, especially in light of everything else we know.
It is. And it makes you wonder, what was he really trying to say?
Okay, so let's move on to the final section of the dossier. It's called the posthumous mystery.
This is where things get really, really mind-boggling. We're going to talk about all the music that's been released since Tupac's death.
There's been a lot, right? Like 7 albums.
7 full albums. And some of the lyrics on these albums, they seem to reference events that happened after 1996. Like specific police shootings, the 2000 election.
How is that possible?
That's the mystery, right? I mean, how could he be rapping about things that hadn't happened yet if he died in 96?
Unless he didn't die in 96.
Exactly. And there are all these producers who claim to have hundreds of unreleased Tupac verses.
Hundreds.
Hundreds. And there are inconsistencies in the studio logs. The dates and locations don't always add up.
So it's like there's this whole other body of work out there that was recorded after his supposed death.
There's a very real possibility.
So, listener, let's just recap here. We've got a questionable autopsy photo. We've got strange coincidences. We've got unexplained sightings. We've got suspicious deaths. We've got plausible motives. And we've got a ton of posthumous music that doesn't quite make sense.
It's a lot to take in, I know.
Yeah.
But when you put it all together, it paints a very different picture of what might have happened to Tupac.
Than the one we've all been told.
Exactly. So the question is, do you believe the official story, or do you think there's something more to it?
I think it's safe to say that the file on Tupac Shakur remains open. And maybe, just maybe, the truth is out there.
And maybe, listener, just maybe, you're the one who can find it. Keep digging, keep asking questions. You never know what you might uncover.
That's it for this week's episode of Conspiracy Q. Make sure to rate and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, stay woke.
And stay woke.